Hi, today I'm on a Queen Anne's County beach with the lovely Miss Judy Wink, who's Executive Director of the Chesapeake Bay Environmental Center. Judy, thanks so much for being with us today and talking about one of my favorite things, seaglass.
Right.
So we've got a lot of events coming up in March, and I just wanted to take a little bit of time and talk about them and explain what we're doing. We've got the lecture with Richard LaMotte, and if you would, tell the folks at home who he is. If you're a seaglass collector, you certainly know who he is.
Right. Well, Mr. LaMotte probably is first and foremost in knowledge about seaglass. And fortunately, he lives relatively close to us. He's excellent with lectures, is able to discern point of origin of seaglass, and very congenial person, and really encourages people to get into seaglass collecting, and both he and his wife have made this a business. He is the guru.
The guru of seaglass, and he's coming here.
Yes.
And he's coming here 2 Fridays. It's going to be, I think, about an hour-and-a-half lecture, and it's $5 to get in. That's a bargain.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be here. It's going to be at Seabeck.
Right. And his mode of operation really is to look at seaglass that the participants may bring, and he will give them the history of the glass, and he works one-on-one with the people. And I've seen him in another event, and I'll tell you, if you're a seaglass collector, he can give you the information. You may have a piece that you have no idea what it came from, and he'll look at it just like that. He'll help you sort and talk about rarity and so forth.
So it's really an interactive session.
Yes. And he's produced a number of aids that are beneficial to help seaglass hunters identify their finds.
So we've got 2 lectures with Richard LaMotte.
Right.
It's March 9th and March 23rd. And then I want to talk about our seaglass swap. I'm really excited about this. This is free and open to the public.
Right.
And it's Saturday, March 10th and Saturday, March 24th. Now, Judy, tell us about this. It's kind of unique. We're going to have a lot of different vendors, and it's also going to be here at Seabeck.
Right, and we tried to coincide it with LaMotte's lecture. And what we're going to do with the vendors, there are many people that utilize seaglass in crafts, in jewelry, and so forth. So they're going to bring their wares and possibly trade some or sell some to people that are interested. And we encourage the people who attend to bring their finds, their treasures, and talk with these people. I mean, you know, it's becoming a very interesting hobby, and it is finite. You know, there is only so much seaglass out there.
At some point it will stop.
Right.
Or dwindle.
More
Significantly.
likely. But, you know, if you hit on a good spot, why, you can still collect a lot. But with the swap, it will be a learning opportunity, as well as a trading opportunity, as well as buy things that other people have made, if that's your interest, you know. So I think it'll be a good, diverse group as far as the availability of the glass.
Absolutely. We also have a couple other events. One of them is a jewelry making class with Miss Ellie Mercier, who is she owns Annapolis Seaglass Studio. And we also, you guys are doing a workshop with kids.
Right.
Tell us about that.
Well, kids like to find, they're interested in finding anything in nature, and then using it to make something for their moms or dads or grandparents. So we're going to actually provide the glass for the kids and give them a couple ideas for how to put something together for a craft and that, and it'll be their individual homemade end product.
Which is pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
So we've got all these different events, and it's really affordable. I think if you're really interested in seaglass, maybe you're new to this, it's not a sport, but the hobby, I suppose.
Yeah.
We also have a guided hunt that's taking place as well. And I know we've said a lot of different events, so if you have questions or you want more information, you can always go to discoverqueenannes.com, or to register, or if you want to talk to somebody specifically, you can call 410-604-2100 and we'll be happy to answer all your questions. Now, Judy, for the novice sea glass hunter, there's some certain things that they can use to, aid them in finding different sea glass, and I think you've got some of them with you. So if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Well, this is one of the things that in getting started you might want to obtain, and there are a lot of things out on the market.
There's books, there's all kinds of stuff.
Right. But this is kind of short and sweet, whereby there is a card, and then on the back of the card they tell you the origin of the color of the glass, when the peak production was, and so forth. And I thought it was a good investment because when I started, I found glass, but I had no idea what it came from. And through using some kind of resource like this, I really have become a lot more knowledgeable about what is collected. So there are many things. And I'll tell you, one of the best things is, like we've planned with this sea glass events, getting with a person who has the experience. They can look at it right away and say what it would be good to use for, jewelry, display, crafts, and where it came from, and peak production time. That one-on-one with somebody who does this kind of thing, does this hobby, is a great experience.
Well, it's quite infectious from what I gather.
Yeah.
Once you start, you kind of get the bug. And that's the thing about sea glass. It's not just pretty, it's not just a display. I mean, there is truly a rich sense of history from each piece.
Yes, and if you can hit on a spot that say maybe I'm just putting this time frame, if you can hit on a spot that maybe was the site of an old hotel around the early 1900s, you'll find a wealth of glass, because every time the tide goes out and comes in, you got a whole new array of whatever is in the area.
And speaking of array, I feel like we have some with us today.
Here are two pieces that we just picked up. Now, normally I clean them up, rinse them off, and usually sort them out. And this one that I happened to pick up came from an old Coke bottle.
Which you have quite a number of, and we'll hopefully get to see shortly.
Yes, and this came from an old beer bottle. So just in right here on the shoreline, I see a couple pieces of glass.
You just got to have your eyes kind of fixated for that specific piece of glass.
Right, and you know what? This is a great relaxing hobby. I go out every day for a half hour, focus just on what I'm doing, and when I find a piece of glass, I think, I wonder who held this in their hand. I'm not thinking of anything else, just relaxing and trying to find a piece of history.
You have quite a stockpile. If you could, give us a little rundown of what we have here and what makes it so interesting.
Okay, well, first of all, what we have in this area right here, this is like the raw stuff. This is what I collect, and then I sort it out. I sort it out according to what it came from, what the composition is, what its structure is, and size it. But all of this is real sea glass in that it's rounded on all sides.
So no sharp edges.
No sharp edges.
No
right.
sharp edges.
And technically, when people collect sea glass and use it for a craft or something like that, they are supposed to use it exactly as they found it.
They're not supposed to cut it or manipulate it in any way.
So, some of these chunks are rather large, and I kept them only because of their origin. For example, let me show you this one. This is depression glass. So even though it's large, if I'd use this, I'd probably use it in some kind of a display, But when you get collecting sea glass, you run into other things, and the more you get into it, the more you know about where the glass came from. For example, let me show you this one. This came from an old Noxzema bottle. So you get to know where the glass came from.
You can identify the glass by the color, by some of the different markings on it.
Right. And these are all Coke bottle.
And as you can see
the name on it. And also, one of the things people like to, if they collect the Coke bottle stuff, they like to see where it came from. Now, I know this is hard to see, but it says Cambridge, Maryland. So that's where this particular Coke was bottled. And you can age Coke bottle glass by the trademark as well.
Now, what is some of the most rare? And I know I'm looking at it right now. The most common colors are blue and
green. Right.
And the most rare,
red is probably the piece that most collectors like to get. And most of these red pieces came from like tail lights, some tableware, etc. But red is good, and depending on what you're looking for, purple is, because of the way the glass was made, is considered kind of like a rare type. Black glass, which they made very little of, and this was used as an insulator in a fuse. Black glass is a good one to collect.
And the reason they are, the rarest is because they're just not as prevalent, correct?
Right, and at the time they didn't use the glass for a lot of different things. The black glass specifically was used as kind of an insulator type thing, so it was very specific as far as its purpose go. I'd say probably the widest range of colors and patterns is with the tableware. Glass comes from bottles primarily that have been broken and tossed, and also from tableware like plates and saucers and sugar bowls and so forth. So it comes from those sources.
And once you start collecting sea glass, you mentioned earlier that other things kind of filter through as well, such as bottles and marbles. And if you could, just really quickly, tell us a little bit about both, because they are both so interesting and in the same family as sea glass, but a little different.
Okay, well, the best place to collect sea glass is where there was an amusement park, an old speakeasy, a hotel, because in the olden days, most of the trash was thrown out in some kind of a pit or, disposed of on site. So as a result, when a plate broke, throw it out in the trash hole and so forth. So other things get trashed. And one of my favorite things to collect are marbles. And here's an example of some of the marbles. And
they're also very rare to find as well, correct?
Yeah, probably the rarest marbles are clay marbles, and I have found a number of them, but things get tossed in the trash, get tumbled, and then washed back to shore. So there are a lot of different things that you can find. Just recently, I really got into the bonfire glass, where I would find glass that was exposed to heat, so it became twisted and melted, and it makes kind of a good outside display with rocks and so forth.
And it's got a story.
Yeah.
All of this wonderful history has some sort of story, or where it was from, or where it originated, and luckily for us, Judy Wink just about knows it all.
No, I don't. I'm learning. Every time I go out to pick glass, I'm learning something new. But, it's funny you mention that, because every time I'm collecting, and I go for about a half hour at a time, and go different places, and every time I pick up a piece of glass, you said about a story, I think, I wonder who handled this before. I wonder what they used it for. I wonder why it was disposed of. So it is kind of an interesting story to try and piece these things together.
Judy, thank you so much for joining us today and talking about this really exciting hobby and the upcoming events we have in a partnership between CBEC and Queen Anne's County Tourism. And for those of you who want more information about CBEC, you can visit your website at
www.bayrestoration.org, and we just got a new website.
It's new and improved. It's exciting. If you haven't been there recently, you should check it out. And if you want information about some of our sea glass events, or if you want to talk to us, you can go to discoverqueenannes.com or call us at 410-604-2100. Thanks again, Judy, and I can't wait for March.
Okay, we'll be there.